Israel has accused Hamas of committing a cruel and evil violation of the Gaza ceasefire deal by failing to return the body of hostage Shiri Bibas. Israeli military has said that one of the 4 bodies returned by Hamas on Thursday does not belong to Shiri Bibas. The Israeli military, in fact, said that it has confirmed that 2 of the bodies belonged to Bibas's children, Ariel and Kafir. However, specialists at Abu Kabir Forensic Institute were not able to identify the body, said to be of Shiri, as it did not match any male or female hostage. Israel has now asked Hamas to return her body, accusing it of handing over the body of an unknown person. The IDF has informed the Bibas family that the bodies of Ariel and Kafir Bibas have been identified after their remains were given to Israel by Hamas on Thursday. The authorities, using forensic evidence and intelligence, assessed that the 2 boys died in November 2023. Ariel was 4 years old and Kafir was 10 months old when they were killed. Hamas said an Israeli airstrike killed the Bibas family early in the war, but Israel has never confirmed the claim. Shiri and her children were taken captive from Kibbutz Nir Oz from October 7, 2023. Their father, Yarden Bibas, was abducted and held separately. He was released on February 1 as part of the first phase of the ceasefire deal. Ariel and Kafir, 2 of the youngest hostages held in Gaza, became a symbol for Israelis of the brutality of Hamas, but the return of their bodies on Thursday dashed hopes they had survived captivity. Thousands of mourning Israelis observed a moment of silence in honor of 4 dead hostages returned by Hamas as a crowd gathered in Tel Aviv's Hostages Square for a rally. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu denounced the Palestinian militant group as monsters for staging a public handover of their bodies in Gaza. He also vowed to act with determination to bring Shiri Bibas's remains to Israel.
We bow our heads at the heavy loss of our 4 hostages. We all hurt in pain that is laced with rage. We all rage over the monsters of Hamas. The 4 coffins of our loved ones oblige us more than ever to promise, to vow, that what happened on October 7th will never happen again, ever. Our loved ones' blood is shouting at us from the soil and is obliging us to settle the score with the despicable murderers, and we will.
The UN said that the manner in which Hamas staged the handover of the bodies was abhorrent and cruel, while the Red Cross pleaded for transfers to take place privately. Netanyahu also ordered the Israeli military to ramp up operations in West Bank after 3 buses exploded in Israel's central city of Bat Yam in Tel Aviv. Police said it was a suspected terror attack. There were no injuries reported in the incidents as the buses were empty when they exploded in parking lots. The police said they neutralized 2 other unexploded devices on buses nearby, and bomb disposal units scanned for additional suspicious objects. Central Israel's police commander said that the devices used to set off the blast were similar to those found in the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
We received several reports on incidents from the terminal here at the Bat Yam station about an explosion. When we arrived at the scene, we detected explosions in 2 buses. At the same time, we received reports of several additional incidents, with scenes both in the city of Holon and the city of Bat Yam. As of now, we have 5 scenes, 3 explosive devices that have detonated, and 2 that bomb disposal units are currently working on.
The defense minister, meanwhile, accused Palestinian militant groups of carrying out the blasts. Katz said he had ordered the military to step up its offensives across the West Bank, particularly in refugee camps. In other developments, Israel said it struck crossings on the Lebanon-Syria border used by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons. According to a Syria war monitor, an unspecified number of people were wounded in the attack. The raids came after a convoy of smugglers' vehicles was observed headed from Syria towards Lebanon. And for more on this, joining us live on the broadcast is Ruthie Bloom, who is a former advisor at the office of Prime Minister Netanyahu, author and award-winning columnist. Thanks very much for being here on the broadcast. Let me begin by asking you for your assessment of the way Israel has reacted at this point.
If you're asking me how Israel has reacted to the return of the 4 dead bodies from Gaza, I can say that so far Israel is being cautious. The public doesn't know yet how the government's going to respond. We heard reports this morning that today no convoys of humanitarian aid went into Gaza. I don't know if those are accurate, but we have to figure out some way to pressure Hamas into returning all the hostages, dead and alive, and to lay down its weapons. Now, you and I both know that terrorist groups are not going to lay down their weapons. So we have to play a very careful game here by retrieving the hostages and then defeating Hamas very seriously.
Right. What can you tell us about the sentiment on the ground in Israel at this point and the way this development over the last few hours is being perceived by the people?
Well, every Israeli realizes that these bloodthirsty terrorists who committed the atrocities of October 7th, 2023, they're not only liars, but of course, they're murderers and rapists and beheaders and every bad thing. So Israelis are in total consensus about that. Where there is a difference is in how we're supposed to proceed to free the rest of the hostages. Now, here's the thing. Everyone saw what a cynical return of those bodies was, because aside from the horrific ceremonies that Hamas stages every time it returns a few hostages, this one was particularly horrific because these are dead bodies, and basically they desecrated their coffins by putting on them their photos of them, and above them a disgusting poster of Netanyahu. And it was just a terrible scene. But then to discover that the mother of those children is not actually in one of those coffins, and that it is an anonymous resident of Gaza in there, was just too much for everybody to bear.
Right. Let me also ask you to comment on what you see happening from here onwards, given what Hamas has said about the remains and given how sensitive the issue is at this point, closely linked to the ceasefire deal developments as well.
Well, what I see happening is the attempt to extend this, what we call the first phase of the ceasefire deal, longer than the 42 days in the original agreement, which Hamas anyway has violated several times, to extend it as far as possible in order, especially to free the remaining live hostages. Of course, we want everybody, including the remains of the dead ones, but the live ones, their time is running out. You know, they're being starved and abused and all that. So the clock is ticking on that. So I think what we're going to do is try very hard, with the help of the Americans, to pressure Hamas to return all the live bodies. And then I think Israel's going to have no choice but to resume the war in full force.
All right. We're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us from the broadcast and sharing your perspectives.
Thank you so much for having me.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.